Hello, welcome to You've Seen It Before, TV Reviews, Connections in Mind, and welcome back to another installment in my review and reaction series to each and every episode of Season 3 of the Orville New Horizons. If you've never seen one of my reaction episodes before, this is where I give my brief overview of the latest episode of whatever TV series I happen to be reviewing, what I liked, disliked, what I thought worked and didn't work, as well as some analysis as to certain plot developments and character arcs that may seem familiar to you and where you may have seen them before. Just to get this out of the way, this will be a full spoiler review and reaction of the latest episode of the Orville New Horizons. So if you've not seen this latest episode yet, I highly recommend coming back when you have, because this will be full-on spoilers from here on out. So with that being said, without further ado, let's get into the Orville New Horizons Season 3, Episode 3, entitled Mortality Paradox. So this is actually a really interesting one. The crew of the Orville, after picking up Lieutenant Chiali after coming back from shore leave, receive a intriguing signal from a planet that every survey that the Union has done so far reads to be barren. A signal that seems to indicate that there's a humongous civilization going on this planet, which seems to be impossible. So when they go to investigate, there's even more inconsistencies going on. When the landing party goes down, consisting of the captain, Kelly, Bordas, Gordon, and Tala, go down to the planet, they don't see any cities but a huge forest. Like, what is going on? A very interesting question. So after investigating, they stumble on a rather unusual sight. In the middle of this random forest that shouldn't exist is a full-on 21st century American high school. And that's where the mysteries really start to get crazy, because once the landing party enters this high school to investigate, they are cut off from communication with the Orville. Naturally, the remaining crew members on the Orville are concerned, like, well, we've lost contact with the landing party, what's going on? We cut back to them every once in a while, trying to figure out the mystery. But the real meat of the story is with the landing party, where in investigating this high school, when they step in the door closes behind them, and they can't get out. Like, Tala can't push the doors loose with her strength. Not even blasters can't blast a hole in the walls. What is going on? And then a lot of crazy stuff happens. First off, this high school scenario is not what it seems, because even a seemingly innocent encounter with some school bullies leaves Gordon, beaten in a men's room, saying, "You owe this guy Randall money." And turns out the guy Randall is in fact this weird gigantic ogre thing with an axe, and which I was not expecting at all. And then seemingly when this ogre Randall grabs Gordon, is holding him to his mouth, looks like he's about to eat him, something weird happens. His eyes go weird gray, and that it only lasts for a second. But they managed to get away from this Randall creature, only to when they run away, they find themselves on an airplane, and it's like, what's going on now? So yeah, 21st century airplane, 737 or whatever, and they're contemplating this event. This plane is flying through a storm, getting shaken around. Gordon's like, I'm a pilot, I can help with this. And it's like, oh man, this thing's getting serious, they go in there. They break into the pilot's seat, the cockpit, and they find there's no one flying the plane. Classic nightmare scenario. So they're flying, they're trying to fly the plane's low on fuel, runs out of fuel, it crash lands. Another death flies there, and this time Ed is the one who has his eyes, go gray for a second, and it's like they describe it as, it feels like someone else is watching my inside my body. I'm watching from outside of my body, and something else was there. What is going on? The third scenario is there's this, Border says it's a Mocklin morgue, where they hang their dead. Boris gets attacked by a corpse. It seems to be a dead corpse of him, a duplicate him as a corpse that reanimates and like starts choking him. He's the next one to have that out-of-body death experience. Then they run away from that, and it turns out the next scenario is there's an endless staircase going down that's over an empty void. And at the bottom of this is a door that leads to a simulation of Saleya. At this point they realize it's a simulation because Ed reasons, well, if this was actually Saleya, the high gravity means we would all be dead except for Lieutenant Chiali. And they see a light on the distance, like seems to be signaling them. It's like, oh, and there's a boat over here. Let's go across the lake here and see what that light is all about. Which turns out to be a trap because once they reach the middle of the lake, the light turns off and Kelly gets dragged under by like a Saleyan giant squid equivalent something. And Kelly goes down to save her. And they both have that that experience now. So now all five of them have had this gray eye experience, and they figure out, it's like, all right, someone's playing a game with us, and we're not going to play anymore. And it seems like the simulation lets them go. Turns out the planet was all a desert to begin with. It was always barren. It was just there was this holographic generator. Oh, what's the holographic generator, you ask? Well, their analysis seems to indicate that it's a Kaelon experiment, and what's going on there is that they were trying to figure out a way to get inside our minds, and because now with the Krill on the other side, they can't outgun us, so now they're gonna have to find another way to conquer us. So then because of that revelation, when a Union convoy shows up, Isaac is the only one who's able to see, oh no, those aren't Union ships, those are Kaelon ships. Everyone else is being deceived because of this experiment. Then the Orville's in the fight of our lives. That's when we get the first big twist. I guess the twist of the simulation was sort of going on this day, but here's the first major twist that that they're still in the simulation. Lamar and the rest of the crew of the Orville are still trying to figure out what's going on with the captain. And then the second big twist happens, which is, Talas contacts the Orville saying, hey, I'm at the rendezvous coordinates, where are you guys? Like, no, we picked you up like a couple hours ago. How is this possible? Turns out, Chiali was not actually picked up, it's someone else. And then we get the third big twist, is that Chiali is actually an alien named Donal, posing as Chiali in the simulation. She reveals herself, and then she starts to explain things, and that's when we get the third, I won't call it a twist, more of a reveal sort of things, that Donal is actually a member of the species of the alien race that we encountered way back at the end of season 1. From the planet where every 11 days the planet re-enters our universe, but it jumps 700 years into its future. So of course that was 2 years ago, showtime. But in that time they had evolved 50,000 years into the future, to the point where they're now immortal and basically one with the universe. So this whole thing was set up so that these beings could experiment with the crew of the Orville to experience near-death experiences, because as they say, it's like the experience of death is something that is foreign to us now. So we need to know what it was all about, to experience it through your eyes. And that was really kind of the whole thing. And the final I guess moral is too strong a word, but Ed basically says that the concept of death is well, not the concept of death, but the experience of death is something that is unknowable for both of our species, because you can imagine your death all you want, but the feeling of non-existence is completely unimaginable to us and to them. So that's where this whole thing was about. So that was a crazy episode of this episode, and let me tell you, this is a wonderful episode that it just goes to show, in my opinion, that you can still have a thought-provoking excellent sci-fi adventure, but you don't have to take yourself so seriously all the time. Even with all these, death, near-death experiences, they're having fun with it. Gordon is, mostly the comic relief in these, but everyone can find, some humor associated with these things. And these are, objectively goofy scenarios to be had, like, some going from, the football gridiron on high school to in the back cabin of an airliner. What's going on? That's objectively odd. But you can they're rolling with it and they're having a good time with it. And like I said, this is the kind of stuff that I think the Orville has done better than even a lot of modern Star Trek has been doing over the past few years. So really, this is the kind of sci-fi where it poses a philosophical question. It leaves it somewhat open-ended by the end, and it's not actively preaching anything. It's just kind of asking the question and then saying, leaving us to ponder the question by the end. And that's, I think, what this episode has its strength. And honestly, maybe just because I was so enthralled with it, but I did not see some of these twists coming. Like, I did not expect, Callie to be, like, oh, she was replaced she was duplicate the entire time. I'm like, whoa, where did that come from? And then, having the reveal that Denal's species is the same one from season 1. It's like, there's some continuity going on there that I would have not foreseeing. Like, maybe in hindsight we'll say, oh man, that was too good a storyline to pass up. But I mean, they did kind of imply in that episode that we'll be around and you'll evolve far beyond us at that point. It's like they kind of alluded to this point, but maybe they weren't. But man, props for them to go back to that point. Really, I don't have a lot of negatives to this. The only negative that I think I can have is one moment where I think the weakest of the scenarios was the Mocklin morgue scenario, because looking back on it, you would think that, again, looking back knowing that Callie was this alien Denal, she pushes the button that opens up all the pods. It would have been cool, nice if, maybe like Ed or Kelly showed up. It's like, said something like, maybe don't press the buttons or something like that. That feels like that was a missed opportunity for a, simple but quick little joke to make that sort of decision work. And then, when Ed says, when they get to the Saleya simulation, it's like, well, now we know it's a simulation. It's like, wait, when Bortus sees himself as a corpse, and then the corpse tries to choke him, that didn't tip you off that this was a simulation immediately? Like, and that was like one of the shortest. That was the shortest simulation that they had, and it's like that felt like it went nowhere. And it's like, okay, what is going on? So, yeah, that's probably the weakest moment of this episode. But really, out of all the episodes to go on, and really, I guess them in the simulation the whole time. By the time you figure out that, oh yes, they're in a simulation sort of thing, you kind of expect that kind of scenario to say, yes, now you're out of the simulation. It's kind of like in Star Trek The Next Generation, that was Future Imperfect, when Riker is stuck in this holographic simulation. He thinks he's out of it once, and then he thinks he's out of it again, and it's like, well, are we really out? Or same thing with Stargate SG-1. I forgot the episode name, I believe it's from season 2, where, SG-1's stuck in these simulation pods, and then they think they're out once, and then they think they're out again. It's like, are you really out this time? So that sort of trope has been done in this kind of simulations before, so that's kind of a twist that I kind of saw coming. But really, those are the only, weak points of this episode, in my opinion. This is definitely a strong third episode of this season. And if this is the kind of quality that we can expect from the rest of the episodes of the season, that just goes to show that, the writers and the showrunners of the Orville really put the pandemic hiatus to good use at this point, because they've really dialed in the writing and execution of these episodes. If these three episodes are any indication, so. Those are my main thoughts. Now let's get into my main comparisons to be made to things that have come before. I already mentioned, Future Imperfect. Some other Next Generation episodes that I think this one really reminds me of is When the landing party first shows up at the high school, it made me think of the Royale, when, you know, this 21st century location where it's objectively should not be, and once they're in, they can't get out. Like, even phaser fire can't destroy the walls. So there's that to be made. And then by the time we get to the reveal that Denal is, first of all, Denal's costume was very Tron-like, I think. So there's a interesting thing there. But also, I mean, she's kind of Q-ish from that regard. They've evolved past into immortality and what that revolves. But really, this whole experiment made me think of where Silence has lease. Denal's basically a slightly nicer version of Nagilum, in that she only put them through near-death experiences, and they weren't in any real danger. Whereas Nagilum's like, no, I'm just gonna boil your helmsman brain right in front of you and say, no, I'm gonna murder a third of your crew. So that's a little bit harsh on Nagilum's part. So Denal kind of nicened it up a little bit on that one. And finally, the scenario when the airliner is falling towards the island and crashing. Random trivia: the livery on the tail is the Pacific Airways, whatever that is basically a modified version of the old Continental Airlines logo, not the one that is that they had when they merged with United, but their one that they had in the 70s and the early 80s. Random trivia. I was like, huh, okay, interesting. But that scene where the airline is crashing on this snowy mountain, and then it breaks off both of its wings, and it's sliding towards the edge of the cliff. It made me think of a similar scene in 2012 when the airline it crash lands in the Tibetan mountains, and it's on the edge of the cliff there. So yeah, those are just my main points of comparison. But what did you think of this latest episode of the Orville New Horizons? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What about my analysis? Do you agree, disagree? Did I miss anything? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate whatever audience I can get. Be sure to look for my review for next week's episode of the Orville New Horizons, as well as my other upcoming reviews, such as my next movie review, which will be for Thor: Love and Thunder on July 8th. My other TV reviews, which will be for the first season of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Miss Marvel, Obi-Wan Kenobi, all that stuff coming out on my channel. And if you liked this video or any other video on my channel, please give me a like, share, and especially subscribe. I'd very much appreciate it. Again, thank you so much for watching. But just remember, there is nothing new under the sun. And yes, you have seen it before.